Chicago with a keyboard and some tea. Lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius, he's got a plugin.
All righty. Thanks, everybody, for joining me once again on a Friday, May 29th. I'm looking at my clock. May 29th. We're heading into June, and today is perfect. It is 79 degrees on the way to 81 here in Chicago. Cheers to everybody. I've had a very busy week, lots of things to report. I'm going to wait to see if a couple folks who are checking in, check in. But today I've got a prepared presentation that's really on popular demand. I'm going to, if you guys are here, can you give me a confirmation on the volume? I think I got a validation in there, but like, let me know if you kick in the same. Upon popular demand this week, I'm really hoping I'm going to have some amazing stuff to share with you. But like, the reason I did today's topic is because I am finding incredible validation in the concept of using the MinuteLaunch system, among other things, as primarily a marketing tool. And part of doing marketing in 2026 is an acknowledgement. I think it requires an actual acknowledgement that we have passed through the uncanny valley of weird, clippy, paperclip looking avatars and cartoony characters. And we've moved into a space that I'm having just a remarkable amount of fun, great success with using for myself and my clients. And that this becomes part of the value proposition, is that the tools themselves have become useful enough for you as an implementer or you as the business owner to make use of in a way that actually increases your ability to earn a livelihood or your ability to save on things such as the high cost of what used to be Facebook ads or Meta ads, Google ads, pay-per-click and such. The old days of paying for advertisement, in my opinion, are over. And part of this is because of the nature of AI, but part of it is because the tools and the way that human beings think are now different. So to just dive into it, because I'm well prepared today, I am going to do a slideshow with stopping along the way to show you on the screen. And I think I'm pretty well prepared today to do this. So in the event that some of the things happen, you let me know. But what I'm really surprised by and I'm slightly concerned by is that I normally have a regular group of folks who are not here today. And I'm wondering, makes me wonder whether or not I'm live, but I can see that I'm live on YouTube. So maybe it's just because it's Friday or whatever. We'll see whether or not. If you guys are listening on another channel, let me know. But it makes me feel like maybe I published to the wrong channel today. We'll find out. Either way, it's going to be here for your consumption later. Let me go to the full screen. Let's start out with the idea. And by the way, I'm sharing with the browser at the top. Forgive me for that. The concept starts today with a brand representative. And in my case, that is Fernando, is not a mascot or a chatbot. It is an amalgamation of the brand's philosophy and the real humans behind that philosophy. Number two, it's a face and a voice that can hold an open dialogue, not read a script just once. And number three, because this is now possible to be done beyond the uncanny valley with real human beings, you do not need hired actors. You don't need to book sets. You don't need to reshoot every time the message changes. And I'm going to show you an example of some of these things in real life, because we know that I've been using Fernando and he's evolved into being the brand representative. But one of the reasons that we have gotten there is because of the fact that the tools are so amazing. So let's start out. I'm going to go to MinuteLaunch. Actually, I'm going to go to one of the tools I'm going to refer to in a second, Higgsfield. And I'm going to show you inside of my assets folder. Higgsfield is a tool that I use as a complement to what I am doing with the MinuteLaunch Persona and the MinuteLaunch Image Editor and so forth. And the reason that I use this is because Higgsfield has a suite of tools, and I'm in the middle of processing something, so my browser is not happy. There we go. We're going into crash out mode. Hold on. Hang in there, guys. StreamYard or my browser is going into crash out mode. Okay, there we go. Higgsfield provides a set of tools that when we connect it to the things that we've got in our capability is really quite good. It allows us to get things done either directly or remotely that would be difficult to do otherwise. So I have some folders here. I'm going to go to the Fernando folder. This other folder is for another character that I'm working on for a client. Let's see if I can avoid crashing on my browser more than 3 times in a live event. All right, success. So what you can see here is an example of an image study. There are tools that allow us to start with one image, which, as you know from the origin story, Fernando became an amalgamation of Spence and Ricardo Montalban. And the reason that I chose to do that was because I had already been using Ricardo Montalban. He had some of the characteristics that I just personally enjoyed, but in essence, it was a friendly character, somebody who, again, I am reasonably bilingual in Spanish, somebody who represented some of the things that I, as the MinuteLaunch founder human being, could put into an avatar, and I'll talk about this, that would allow me to have conversations, to do fun scenes. I talked about this happening, and now I'm going to show you it's been happening. It's not that dissimilar to, in the old days, we used to have Colonel Sanders or Ronald McDonald, or you can have the Empire Carpet Man, or you had actual real life people like Ron Popeil. But more realistically, you have today the Allstate dude, who there's 3 of them. The Allstate dude, there's one guy who's serious, who's this guy, Dennis Haysbert. He's really well known. He's got this deep voice, and he's Then they've got the other guy, the Mayhem guy, Dean Winters, who I remember the Mayhem guy from, he was in a lot of other TV show stuff, but he's the guy who comes and shows all the crazy stuff going on, you know, why you need insurance. And then recently they got the guy, I don't know the actor, he's in everything. Who's the famous bald actor from the drumming movie? I can't remember his name. He's Whiplash. This guy is in J.K. Simmons. Okay, J.K. Simons. This guy's in everything. He is literally one of the most famous actors around, and it's hard to remember. He's in the Farmers Insurance. So he's also doing the same thing. He's doing this character in Farmers Insurance. Okay. If you think about why those things work, it's because there's humor. There is an ability to put a character into situations that does stuff that you as a human being or a real human being might not do, but they can as an actor. But you can convey a lot of the things about the brand and the philosophy of the brand, as well as a memorable voice and face. And if you'd had to hire an actor and they had to get dressed up, this would be a very, very different thing, right? But since you don't have to do that, it's not a problem. Next is that when we're actually putting these things together with AI, we can do the things like I'm showing you here, and I'll go into details about this, but the tools exist to take one image and turn it into an entire brand study, an array of different images or videos or scenarios. And so now I have a virtual studio that allows me what you previously would have had to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars conceivably, I can now do in a virtual realm. Okay. This is where the math of 2026 makes this such a valuable tool for you and your business, or for you to use with your clients, because remember, you can be valuable by being only one step ahead of your actual customers. In those situations, we've got now a tool that they know what the outcomes are looking like because they're seeing it on social media. They're seeing it on television. They're seeing it in print ads and those things. But you can do this 95 to 99% cheaper than what would have been in the past. If you had had a real actor or a real UGC, which is a user-generated content. In other words, in the past, I have had my clients and customers send me videos. Did you like using, Widget Laboratory or Lab Secrets and blah, blah, blah? They would send me a reasonable video. In fact, one of my closest client friends, who I'm going to speak to today, did a favor for me. He's on the front page. Here is user-generated content on the front of WP Launchify by the very handsome Bernie Smith. Okay. This is a UGC by a real person. And Bernie has a fantastic sense of aesthetics. And also he's very good because he has high priced equipment. So the quality, I will tell you, of this video from Bernie is 99% better than what most people would send me. He literally is a professional. And so the depth of field and the framing and the lighting and everything is perfect. Very, very rare to get that. Whereas if I wanted to do this with the tools, I can now have Bernie Smith or 1,000 other people who come in and give user-generated content without actually being users. Next is it happens in minutes, right? So I can conceive of something. I'm going to show you how this works, and you'll do it too. In minutes, you can have unlimited amounts of new ideas. In fact, I can do a new idea a day 100% automatically. You get this really crazy return on ad spend if you actually spend money on ads. Now, there's value numbers that typically, like if you get a 2.5 on your ad spend, that's a good number. If you get a 2, it's like something's wrong. If you get below a 2, I don't believe that we should be spending money on ads. In fact, for many of my higher priced clients and my valuable clients, I'm showing them that we can get better results by not paying. Here's an example. I'll go to WP Launchify again using just my own stuff. That is not what I want to go to. I want to go to YouTube, WP Launchify. And this is probably going to play today's thing. Okay. If I go to Shorts, just want to show you, this is not intended to be like, oh, this is really crazy impressive. But I want you to see, I think I actually posted twice yesterday, but it didn't hurt. Notice the first time I posted the same video, got 42. Then it got 155, 263, 89, 65, 103, 145, 63, 79, 123. These are 14-second throwaway, very campy, but very fun videos. But this one got 263 people to see it. It's just Fernando and I on bikes talking about essentially nothing. Now, YouTube gets a different audience than my LinkedIn. But even in LinkedIn, I want to show you why this is relevant. Remember, this costs nothing in ad spend. And depending on which network I'm in, I get different results because the algorithms are different for each network. But I've built the tools I'm going to share with you to maximize the algorithm's response. So here, for example, if I look at maybe the past 90 days, I'll do, I don't know. Actually, it's not worth 90 because I only started doing it recently. But you will see we've got a consequential up to the right moment. And if I adjust this to 28 days, we get relatively the same thing, a little steeper curve. If we look at it in terms of daily, you can see the various spikes depending on whether it was posted or not. And then if we also change from impressions to engagements, we get an actually interesting cumulative. The takeaway from this is up 533%. The takeaway is each network is different, but I am doing nothing other than creating one thing with one prompt with a character that exists. And in doing so, as I continue to get more engagement, as I continue to get more exposure, the algorithms work upon themselves. And the goal here is, in this case, brand recognition. The next phase is going to be engagement to have people come in to go into a sales funnel. And I'll show you what that looks like. I don't know why I keep going to MinuteLaunch. I want to go to Whimsical. I prepared a slide here for today. I came with all the treats, by the way, for you guys. So let me scale this down. This is kind of how this whole game looks. I'm going to fit it in there. I'll scale it and then I'll drag it. You create a piece of user-generated content with a brand representative, like Fernando. You can either use that for ads, or use that for social media, or use that for direct email, where you're actually taking customers from your list or your client's list and you're offering them something new that they didn't have before in a fun and campy way that leads to an outcome that they are essentially, from a landing page, agreeing to give their email. The ultimate goal here is that you need to get everybody's email, and we use the Fluent CRM methods that we've got for this to happen. And if you use their email with an offer like, get your blankety blank lead magnet, this could be a free video, it could be an informational report, it could be a sample of the product, then they're in your CRM. Once they're in the CRM, we begin to acquire the relevant metadata about them, their behavior, their spending habits, which results in things like we can use them for lead source referrals to partners. We can use the other products and services that are offered to continue to, put them on a value ladder. Those things I've talked about in other webinars, and I'll talk about more. But the point is, we're taking one piece of content, and if you do want to still spend money and give it to Mark Zuckerberg's kids, you can. I'm saying you don't need to. We've got enough evidence to demonstrate that things are working pretty well. And here's one of the other tools. I'm going to show you, if I go into MinuteLaunch, into the dashboard this time, I want to show you I've had an upgrade this week, a significant upgrade, which makes the MinuteLaunch Social even more powerful. In addition to the capability of publishing into all of your favorite social networks, I have increased its capabilities to be granular. You can publish into any or all of them with an optimization for what the algorithms seem to be doing. That is to say, for example, with YouTube, when you publish into YouTube, the way that it works is the actual title should have 3 hashtags, whereas if you publish to Instagram, it is a different configuration. If we look at the posts that were made, you also can optimize the way the emails look. So if I look here for my YouTube posting and I edit the post, MinuteLaunch Social manages all this for us. But when I actually look at the way that it was optimized, you'll notice the caption doesn't have the hashtags in it. The hashtags are supposed to go into the actual title. So if I were to go to the actual post history and look at what was done, that is how it worked out. Likewise, when I am creating the actual results, I have now analytics inside of MinuteLaunch Social that allow us to see how everything is performing. I'm going to zoom this out a bit, but I can see across all the dates, all my platforms for the last 7 days or whatever it is, how things are doing. What's the engagement rate? Which things are working best? Which things are not working best? For example, here let's go to the last 30 days, the most popular post happened to have been running a small business online, and Instagram is for some reason, the network that's getting the most recognition. This allows me to continually give the tool, MinuteLaunch Social, the information it needs to further refine, further tweak, further build a better and better set of rules and skills for itself. So the more it does that, the more it's better at recommending what should be the next thing. And even here, where I give it the recommendation about, based on the statistics, the best day to post is here, the best hour, the best content type, what's the sweet spot for the caption, what's the hashtag count. We're keeping track of all of this so that you basically have a tool for yourself or your customers that essentially requires no extra cost versus Hootsuite that's $400. Bye, Zach. Have a great trip. My son is going to the dentist. If you follow what I'm saying and we go back to our slides, the idea is that we now have a tool that allows us to get a return on ad spend, but we can also see a return on virtually no dollars spent in using social media marketing. And then the click-through rate tends to be higher. When we look at why people are clicking on stuff, we've discussed this before, but we're all basically having our brains turned to jelly for all these other reasons. If we go and look at what typically happens when you look at Instagram or Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts or any of these other short form contents, even Mr. Beast and the bigger YouTube creators, they take their long form content and they turn them into these little clips, visually appealing clips. This is a UGC ad right here. Okay, that's actually a UGC ad about a company that makes UGC ads. But these things are because, there's Fernando, these catch people's eyes, and you'll see with the way that we structure it, that it's almost impossible for them to avoid. And as a result, when they watch this, the algorithm rewards the fact that they stayed and watched it. And once you've gotten enough people into your audience or into your essential algorithmic exposure, you can then go to the next step, which is making it possible that there's an offer of some kind. But when you just start out, you don't need that, right? Like literally, this is the stuff. This is the modern world of advertising. It is not paid ads that look like paid ads. It's things that look like they were posted by normal people in a social sense. Why are some of the reasons that you need a brand representative like Fernando? It gives you a consistency of the face and the voice. So when we're talking about the things that I've been doing with Fernando, I joke about it, but it's true. It's like the Seinfeld show. It's a show about nothing. It's Fernando and I in a series of daily circumstances, not dissimilar to the Allstate guy or the farmer's insurance guy or the mayhem guy. It's just the same dude wearing the same outfit in a set of circumstances where the people are different, the circumstances are different, but they're all with the same sort of message. Here's the brand name and something, right? You need insurance because mayhem happens. You need insurance because the price is this. You need insurance because blankety blank. And you see this in all modern advertisement. There's cliches because people's brains have been reinforced to these. If you honor the cliches and you use these tools, you can benefit in the same way by growing an audience of new prospective customers, as well as wringing more sales out of existing. So using a consistent face and voice, every page, every post. You've seen me do this more and more, but now you see it even inside of the products. When you go to MinuteLaunch.com, again in the brand, I white label this, but if we go to the plugin manager, I now say it's Meet Fernando. I talk about Fernando in terms of he's the Allstate guy. He's like the hopefully not, but the mayhem guy. He's the guy that I, as the human being, have conversations with in third person about nothing but mentioning the brand and mentioning the product names. And the more that one does this, I will tell you a funny story. My friend Sam and I go to lunch, and I've got Sam in the MinuteLaunch Persona. I'll show you. Sam and I are really, really, really close pals, and he's a stay-at-home dad, and he and I raised our kids at the same age that our friends. And he says to me at lunch, and I'll clean it up for the kids. He says, I'm really annoyed with you. I went to my daughter's graduation from high school, and she gets in the car with me, and she says, Dad, who's Fernando? And what's MinuteLaunch? And how do I get it? I said, that is the greatest compliment of all, because Sam always gives me a hard time because he's really my friend and my supporter, but gives me a hard time about all the things I talk about. And when I talk to him about things like Fernando, he's just, it does his head in, but he knows it works. And the fact that his daughter, who is, I think she's 18 now, is actually captivated by the very same thing drives him batty in a friendly way, because he knows that it's actually true, right? Like, we know commercialism is commercialism, but I do this with a humanistic and a good intention, and I think you would as well. So having this brand representative carries the philosophy of your brand in a way that you can control the message without worrying about dialogue, without worrying about scripts, without even bunch editing. And they can answer and demonstrate live in ways that a billboard couldn't, right? So when I make these videos in Higgsfield, I'll show you some of them. Here's the last one I made was Fernando and I in that airplane. You just saw the basis of it. Here's my voice version of it. Okay. I am making it by using the brand assets from MinuteLaunch Persona, from MinuteLaunch Image Editor, put into this video tool that, again, I could use other tools, including, I often do, just use Claude. I can literally use Claude, but I use him in the desktop mode. So if I go to Claude here, let's see if he shows up. I don't think he's going to show up. I'm using him in the desktop. I don't think he's capable of showing it here. So when you're using Claude in the browser, it doesn't have the capacity to easily connect to the things that I can show you. But when you use the Claude in the desktop tool, it can connect to Higgsfield. So instead of me going into Higgsfield even, I'm just doing it remotely from my desktop. Higgsfield, by the way, is a subscription product. But what I did was in MinuteLaunch Persona, I did an analysis of how much time and effort and money it costs to generate these kinds of outcomes. And I found that it was cheaper and better to use Higgsfield as a tool by itself for the final production after having created the characters using MinuteLaunch Image Editor and MinuteLaunch Persona. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. Here, if I go to MinuteLaunch Persona, here we're able to generate the initial idea of who this character should be. And we do that with the image editor. We do that with the AI-enabled tools. But once I've created that basic character, like here's Fernando, I've got an actor that I can use for multiple purposes, but I can manage the actor. I can manage the array of shots, including his description and his voice and all of the things that he has with him as a production bundle. I can manage his sponsorship kit. I can manage his sponsors. But the actual video, when I started making it in the site, and you can see I started doing it here, it became a bit of a burden. And the reason it became a burden was that I have to build all these other tools into this MinuteLaunch Persona that already existed and are constantly being bettered and updated here, including, like, for example, this week, they've got this MCP tool, which you can now use to connect to your Higgsfield account. They give you a much better price when you do the editing in the site than if you do it with API. And they also have these new tools like Supercomputer, which is a really interesting thing I'll talk more about. But this allows you to combine a whole wealth of other things in one space. And all I'm saying is use the right tool for the right job. I found that using the MinuteLaunch system for 90% of things and then using Higgsfield is really the same thing as, you know, I have a car that I love to drive, but I don't make gasoline. I go to a gas station to get gasoline. So use the right tool for the right job. I noticed that folks are here, and I think the reason I'm not seeing anybody is because something has changed about the way that StreamYard displays it. So if you guys are here, can you say hi in the chat, in the comments? I think it's StreamYard has thrown me off. They've changed this interface one more time and made me a little... There's Bernie. Hi, Bernie. I made you famous this morning, my friend. So moving on back to this, and now I feel better because I'm like, I could see the numbers, but nobody is doing anything. Why do you need a brand representative? And Bernie, you and I are going to talk more about this today in your particular case. You are, oh, good morning, John. Okay, good. So Bernie's here. John's here. I'm not alone here with Fernando. You can stop being the bottleneck. In other words, here's a typical morning for Spence. I was literally doing this. I have Fernando's production schedule, and I also have many of my clients in this production schedule. If I go to Higgsfield, like I said, right tool for the right job, I have assets that are stored into folders for myself for various projects. Here's a new one. I'm not going to discuss who, what, when, where, why, but the character is called Kirk Eastwood. I use the very same process that I used for Fernando, because this is a paid customer who has a certain set of attributes we're looking to achieve, right? This is going to be the brand representative. And this is actually a client who has a multi-million-dollar brand, very successful in his own right, but we need this kind of representation. I have another one that's funnier that I can show you, but I'm not prepared to show you yet because the client has not chosen what the character should look like. This is a little more representative. And what's nice about it is you can see that this character is available. Now, I can use this character through a number of means. What I typically will do is I'll take the information about the attributes of the brand, and using MinuteLaunch Persona, I will take and create an actor from all of those assets that we just discussed. I'm going to show you from another client here. This is Ryan Sheehan. This is where you describe the character, you describe the brand, you describe the things that would make up that particular actor and brand, so that when we have a sponsorship kit, we now can have something that is ready to go, of value that the customer themselves can continue to refine, or you can refine, but it's available for all the agentic tools to use, so they understand the who, what, when, where, and why of what they're creating when they actually make imagery or videos, or they write copy or anything else. You can also do here with MinuteLaunch Persona the creation of things that are placement zones if you happen to have sponsorship. So for example, Ryan, Formula One race car driver, has a racing suit, racing helmet, racing gloves, racing shoes, pit crew, social media, video intros, earbuds. These are all places that a sponsor could put their brand. We also have included in MinuteLaunch Persona the ability to have an automatic research based upon the qualities of the brand, the qualities of the company, the products of the company, the nature of the philosophies that are pursued by the company. Like I always talk about humanistic things. Here are other brands that might be potential sponsors for whom we can automatically create composites. And by the way, with the sponsors, you'll notice we just need to put in the name and the website and maybe the colors, and it will get all the other information about that brand. We can then create composites. The composites allow us to take the actor and the brand and the actual placement zone, like in this case, a car, and put them together. We can create that, and then from there, send it off to Higgsfield for videos, or we could do what's called a cut sheet. A cut sheet, in this case, let's do Red Bull. A cut sheet allows us to generate all the potential places for this particular actor where their brand could be shown. And we could do this in advance, by the way, and watermark it, including prices. This is interesting. If you have perhaps a real life client who has real life sponsorship potential, fantastic. For you using your Fernando, it's not really relevant. I mean, at the moment, I don't think that I'm going to be selling Fernando as a UGC character, but I do want to point something out. This is crazy. UGC brands making millions. There is a whole thing going on now where, and I have to be just direct with you guys, this isn't happening for 59-year-old dudes. This is happening for attractive, young, female UGC characters. That actual companies like Amica and Alani Nu and even some bigger ones are spending $50,000 or $100,000 a month, Supergroup, on agentically created AI characters in their ad campaigns. And the reason they're doing it is simply this. I can create a character that looks like anything. If my business was to try to get an attractive young female character, like you saw on my Instagram, I could use that and build a following, a reach of people who are looking for that type of a character. Maybe that might be other young ladies, maybe it might be fellas. The point is that if you can create a character that is attracting reach and audience through social media and otherwise, that is now a channel for sponsors. That is now the same thing that the brand that you might be building this for directly as their agent is interested in. But in this case, other than doing it directly for the client, you could build one that generically has its own audience. And in doing so, you can then use things like our MinuteLaunch Persona tool to build cut sheets that would say, hey, Coca-Cola sponsors Ryan. Maybe Oakley wants to sponsor Ryan. Here's the irony. Ryan is a real dude. I think most of the time I'm a real dude. But you know what I can do? I'm here live. I'm wearing a sport coat. I can make virtual Spence and do unlimited scenes, either myself or with Fernando. I can have Fernando with Ryan Sheehan. I can do guest placements and we're drinking Coca-Cola. Do you see how this is working? Here's why it's valuable to you guys, okay? I'm handing you millions of dollars worth of tools through the MinuteLaunch system that allow you, for no extra cost than the $97 a month self-hosted or $197 a month fully hosted, to generate all of this stuff. And even though it is true that I have a tool that could generate the videos, I'm suggesting spend an extra $100 a month or $500 a month or whatever you want, or get it from your customer as a budget. And then the tools that I'm giving you work directly with the high quality production suites like Higgsfield and allow you to create an entire pipeline. So for example, with this automation, if I'm using Claude Desktop and it's connecting to Higgsfield, I don't even have to go to Higgsfield. I literally just have the script. The script is written. It is coming from the feedback loop of using things like MinuteLaunch Social and the response rate on different things. So it's continually looping back around. What's better? How's it working? What gets more response? And in doing so, you are essentially the most valuable person in the world, even though that's not your primary reason for being here. I spoke about this yesterday with John. I've spoken about it today. I'll speak to Bernie about it. I'm doing this in real life because what is the cost to you or your client? Virtually nothing. You are getting this ridiculous growth potential of both followers and reach, so that whatever it is that they are trying to sell or you're trying to sell for them, you can do it much easier. I'll come back to some of these tools. Let's get back to the slides. Every client can have their own virtual representative, and you can be the one who delivers it. Or if you are thinking about this for yourself, John, Bernie, whatever, this is how we do it. This is how I arrived at Spence and Fernando. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you want to make yourself look a little better, but I do think that it's interesting when I've created my own voice, and you hear it in the videos. It took me 30 seconds to do. If you have already existing videos, it's less time. When you take your voice, your face, you put it into the system, guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to spend hours and worry about it's a sunny day or a cloudy day, changing the set. Spence and Fernando can do anything we want. Let's just do some crazy shit real quick. Let's just go into here and I'll show you exactly how this works. Now, by the way, I use MinuteLaunch Persona, but I also, for today, set up ChatGPT. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Here's my UGC concept. I put it into ChatGPT, just off the shelf free ChatGPT. And I'm going to say, hey, good morning. I'm doing an office hours today. And I want to demonstrate for everybody that we can create a new script. Do a new script of Spence and Fernando, but now they're doing a live podcast, and show them on a set, like as if they're doing StreamYard or Zoom, and make a short script that we're going to talk about MinuteLaunch Persona, ML Persona, and how it's amazing because it means that they don't actually have to be there in real life. Write the script within the confines of what we've been creating already. Good morning, Claude. I'm glad you made it, and you're definitely going to enjoy the replay. So what I have got here, what I'm showing you is, even if you're a real person, John Denwood, 1,000 shows. I've known John for years. We don't have to be there. So here's the whole thing. I don't even have to read it, but I am going to read one thing. I'm going to read just what he's saying You know what's wild about ML Persona? We can make videos like this without actually being on set. Exactly. Creates the avatar, the idea, the script, and the direction. Final shot, so your brand can show up more often. Why am I reading the script? Hi, Julie. Okay, you guys are here. I guess you've just been lurking. The reason is because now the rest of the pipeline being set up, all I have to do is go to this situation and I paste this in. And for 135 credits, this will generate the first video that is going to show both of us with what the rest of the rules were that I developed, by the way, using the feedback loop I mentioned. It took a few tries and I got it down, nailed it. Once it's nailed it and it's got the, again, array of images to keep it in line, this is going to spit out in about a minute for 135 credits, which represents probably around $5. It's going to have the voice of Fernando. And then once I have that and I like the video, I duplicate it to do the Spence voice, and then I edit it together. We're going to see how this works out. So the last thing on this slide was one idea becomes dozens of short form clips across every platform. And I've demonstrated that with MinuteLaunch Social. I am just loving the tools. So I've got MinuteLaunch Image Editor and the media library tools along with MinuteLaunch Social. If we go into my media library, I want to show you one of the accessories I built for this that's freaking awesome, in addition to making the newsletter, emails, and everything else. When I dropped the video in yesterday, which was me and Fernando in the airplane, MP4, okay? Let me zoom out on this a bit. This is the MP4 that came out of my editor. One of the things that is interesting is, notice, even though we don't want to publish and share inside of YouTube, inside of our WordPress site because it's not efficient, I do have the video here. It's only 7 megabytes. So I always have it as a resource. But here's the tool that I did that's amazing. I need the thumbnail. And what a pain in the ass that normally is. So I built a special tool that when you just drop the video into your media library, that MinuteLaunch Social allows me to scrub automatically or manually for exactly the right thumbnail that I want. You see this? So that was terrible. Let's do, there's the real lift. Actually work. All I got to do is choose which size I want. And I notice my drop down isn't showing in the shared screen. And then snap this. And what does that give me? That gives me the thumbnails that I need, which are awesome for future reference. I can use this for regular advertising, print ads, or I can further edit and refine this to turn this into something else. So I've given you a tool inside of this pipeline that allows you to constantly iterate, but it also allows us to use the thing over and over and over and over and over again, because it's all inside of the media library. If I go to MinuteLaunch Image Editor now, and I create a new AI image, I can literally take any amalgamation of things and put them together. Like here's this thumbnail I just did. And I could just, you've seen this before a million times. I can say like, listen, remove the words and make this guy, instead of in an airplane, make him riding a horse. Otherwise, have him looking in the same position and make it cinematic. And you can use the prompt builder if you want to key in on some things like what it's for, but I'll just go with my prompt and I'll keep the ratio portrait mode. And I'm an automatic AI generation. So this is going to choose the best model automatically from Open Router. It will cost you pennies, whereas you'd probably spend dollars on Opus or Sonnet or whatever. And I've been finding amazing results from this setup. So that's all that's necessary. I can, in my own media library or for my customers, I'm the social media guy. I'm the actual CMO, and I'm doing stuff that I can make some human decisions here. But even if I'm not making the human decisions, I can dial it in. I just went from airplane to horse. And I can dial it in and reuse this, repurpose this. I can turn this into composites. We've got in these tools the capabilities to do really amazing things like turn this into the Brady Bunch thing of, you know, Spence wearing different jackets and so forth. Let's see real quick if we came up with a new video. Let's see. It's interesting. I'm not sure why we came up with a retry. Maybe because I was doing too many things. I'm going to restart this, see if it works out. Usually it works almost every time, but sometimes we might have a little issue. So we'll see if it kicks in the next time. Let's go back to the slides. All right, here's the deal. You have two places this works for your UGC characters, for your brand representative, for your Fernando. You have for yourself or you have for clients. And this is really, really remarkable because even for my clients that are paying me for the much higher level of technological skills or website stuff or other things, they are all freaked out, excited about having their own brand representative. Because again, this is stuff that big companies like Allstate and so forth have been doing for years and paying millions of dollars for. So if you choose to do it for yourself, you win. If you choose to do it for others, this is actually a vertical of monetization that you otherwise wouldn't have had available to you. It wasn't even anything we conceived of or I conceived of when I started building these tools, but it's turned out to be the biggest moneymaker of all. Because if you, for example, took the things that I share with you about MinuteLaunch for a brand, and Bernie, I'm pointing at you, and Claude, you know we've talked about this, and Julie, even we've talked about this. Let's look at MinuteLaunch as a pricing scale. It's a free plugin that does amazing stuff for free, but then it goes to $97 if you self-host with no support, $197 with support, backup, service, hosting. Awesome. But notice this $497 a month. This MinuteLaunch AI fully hosted plus for an extra $300, which is 1 hour of Spence typically, they get email list building, once a week, weekly email automation, professional email campaigns, email marketing, dedicated marketing support. Now, I'm on the hook for sending one email a week. I'm not, for $497, I'm not even making the UGC characters. And I'm doing one newsletter. So 4 emails, 1 newsletter, and I can give email advice. How do I make that? Well, let's go back to MinuteLaunch Social for a second. We already saw how you can create a brand character once and have a bunch of images that are easily remade into anything you want. If I go to MinuteLaunch Social and we take one of the things that we were just talking about, like that I just made yesterday, like MinuteLaunch Social helps you see what's working. This tool allows me to create the newsletter that aligns with the social posting. So not only do I get to post to all the clients' networks with one button, but I can generate and post the newsletter as well. Watch what I mean. Let's go into the full editor of this. By default, I can remake this into anything, but let's take the post from yesterday. And with the full editor, let's say we're going to select all of these things. Let's do this differently because I want to show you from scratch. Let's do, if I did a new post, let's do a post from yesterday. If I create the emails from yesterday, because this way I have something you can see the result that was finished, and I'm going to make the email for it now. Okay, I simply go to create the email. And by the way, you can do individual network emails, like show one button, or you can show all of them. Here's the tool we give you. Out of the box, it takes the message, including the format from YouTube, and it just throws in or makes an image. But I'm going to override that because I would rather do something else. So notice I have tools here. I could change the, you can't see the drop down, but I could choose a different tone or a different editing. I can also choose a different hero image. If I want to do a different hero image, I can do that by editing the actual image, creating a new image, or starting from scratch with a new concept. Any of the ways that I do that are easily done inside of this tool, which means that I do not have to do any work. And I can furthermore, if I did this from scratch, have this done automatically. So if we go over here to MinuteLaunch Social, one of the things we've got is composition and scheduling can be on fully automated mode. In other words, it can schedule to do posts on a regular basis based upon previous content. Let's pretend I make a new one. I'm going to select all the networks, and I could either choose a previous posts of any post type from here, which again, my dropdowns don't show when I'm sharing the screen. I don't know why. Or I can do something new. So here, I'm going to go back to my ChatGPT, and I'm going to do the same thing. This would be what I normally use Fernando for, but I'm showing you in ChatGPT. Give me the social post for this. He's going to give me the starting point set up so that it fits properly within Twitter's limits, and I paste it. And I paste it so that I click the button that says optimize for all the networks. While he's doing that, I'm going to choose the media object, which is from the media library. And remember, I just created the horseback riding thing, whatever. Okay. So now I've got a situation where I've got a composite for Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. They're all optimized for those networks and their algorithms that have been proving to do better. Like Twitter puts the 3 hashtags in the title. Okay. Now I can also do this, create the Fluent CRM draft, and I can either schedule it or publish it now. Okay. If I combine these posts, I can have something that will be really beautiful. It'll be what you've seen from me. It looks like an iPhone at the moment. That's the style of the template, and it's got all the buttons in it. Let's do something here where if I was normally doing this, I wouldn't do the static image. Normally what I would do here is I would do the video. I would put the MP4 in. Let's see if we get the video out of this. We got the video. So first of all, let's see what came of the video. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the link to this temporarily, just so you can see the rough thing. Share, copy link. This is the original one with Fernando's voice. Now what I do is I click change voice, and I add Spence for 2 credits, which I don't know what that amounts to. It doesn't amount to much. So now I'm going to have 2 videos. I've got us doing a podcast, by the way, in 9:16 format for shorts. Then I'm going to have the one with my voice. When I add them together and do the titles, I'll have the final video. Just because I am going to save some time, I'm going to show you what happens here if I was to add the video, right? I don't have the video here, but I'm going to pretend that I added the video by adding the image of the horseback riding thing, right? If I go ahead and schedule it, I'll schedule for later so that I don't have to publish the wrong thing. I'll schedule for tomorrow, okay, at 10 a.m. Okay. I can say publish in background so I can leave the page. Now watch what happens. This is going to give me everything scheduled, and it's going to give me the chance to build the newsletter. But now the newsletter is going to give me the options of what to say, what to do, where it goes. And that's why this is really interesting, because when you combine all these various components, once you've set this up in a groove for a client, it probably takes me, I mean, after I've made the video, probably takes me 10 minutes total a day. And if you consider the fact that you've also got no need for you to sit there in front of a screen and, you know, look good and feel good and edit the videos after the fact, it's really, really, really quite efficient, right? So one of the things that happened here is it's unhappy because Instagram, with that image I used, has a range. It gave me a warning. That's actually pretty cool. It said you can't do that one on Instagram, all right? So I'm going to retry it without the Instagram. What I like about this too is it keeps me honest. It's not like it just goes off in la la land and doesn't tell me anything. If something's wrong, YouTube requires video content. So I'm not doing this on purpose, but it's just nice that it's actually giving you scenarios. It tells me when I've done something that's outside the parameter, because remember, I'm doing a magic trick of trying to post to 6 different networks, 8 different networks, all with one click. When I actually do this, notice now what does it do? Gives me the HTML builder for the email, including the hero image that I had selected and so on and so forth. So now I can create and edit the email that goes through Fluent CRM or Gmail or the client if they have it. another thing. So look what it did. It made the whole thing ready to go with the copy. And if I wanted to, I can include all of the buttons. I can further edit this. And what I will do typically is I will copy the HTML and use it in my Fluent CRM because I have it on a different network. Or I could send it to this Fluent CRM here in MinuteLaunch. It created a draft for me. I can also do this magic trick where I copy it for Gmail. This one is awesome because if I do this real quick, compose, you can't do this in Gmail normally. If I create something in Gmail, HTML sucks. With the MinuteLaunch Social, hello, I've got this awesome, gorgeous email ready to go. So if I use any of those options, I have now saved myself hundreds of dollars and thousands of hours of frustration over the course of a year, maybe dozens during a day. Doing this for a customer means you can charge $4.97 just for that email part, not the video, not the editing, just for, there's a picture, social messaging, optimized, posted once a week, one time a month with the newsletter. It's not hard. It's just outside their experience. I guarantee you, the second you show this thing to a client, they're going to be like, that's it? $4.97 a month and you do everything? That's $6,000 a year for you, of which your cost is maybe 4% of that. If you charge more for doing the videos, like I'm going to show you, now you can charge. I have clients that are paying $5,000 budget for just the videos. That's how important this is to them. So by using the AI rep for hook testing at the top of the funnel, you get real faces, you get the kind of numbers that I've shown you on the graph, you get to disclose, because nobody's stupid, that it's really a character, but they do not care, because as soon as they become enamored, like I told you the story of my friend Sam, they don't care that it's a character. The character is like a Disney character. It's like Aladdin or something. They're like, they know it's a cartoon, but they fall in love with the character. An actor in Star Wars is an actor. It's a real person, but there's lots of CGI in Star Wars and people don't care. Jabba the Hutt was a CGI character for a while. It annoyed the hell out of everybody. But the point is, we can disclose and be upfront about it and diminish that uncanny valley problem. So here's the step, and I'm going to finish up. I'll do a live one. You create a face based upon an amalgamation of brand, philosophy. You describe the person. You can use the MinuteLaunch Persona to do this. You can use your regular chat products to do it, but using Image Editor and MinuteLaunch Persona, super easy, and you manage that from there on. Once you've approved that, you can go and make the motion studies. Like I did a test with Kirk Eastwood this morning to see whether or not it will look interesting and, you know, have like that je ne sais quoi. You can make the voices. Now, the voices you can either make internally with Higgsfield, or you can use a tool. There's so many of them, but I use either Fish.audio or 11 Labs. And here what you do is with the voices, either of your customers yourself, or you can, with their permission, just take a video or something they've done before and generate a new one. Here I've created my own voices. Soon to be one for John Denwood, I believe, because we're going to do something together. But if I go over here to, where is my voices? Hold on. My voices. You will see I've got Fernando 2. I've got Spencer Foreman in here. Here was the original Ricardo Montalban, which I do not use because commercially that would be disingenuous. I don't want to use a dead actor's voice as it is. That's why I modified it into something that is an amalgamation. It's inspired by. But you see, I have a bunch of other ones that I use for other situations, including myself or the HAL 9000. When you take those voices, you can use those. And then I'm going to show you how we edit this. We put the captions and we publish. All right. So if we go to Higgsfield, I now have 2 videos. I do 2 things. I save them and favorite them. I typically will put them into the Fernando and Spence folder. If you can see this, yeah, you can. Okay. So I'll save them into the, there's a Spence and Fernando. That way I can find them later if I want to just filter out by that. And I go Spence and Fernando. and I don't know if you guys can hear the voices on the new one, but like you'll hear it when I'm done. So I go add to folder, Spence and Fernando. And by the way, I like that my clients can see what I'm doing. If any client is watching this, I love that, because here's the deal. I could cut my own grass. I don't want to cut my own grass. I could take the leaves out of my thing, but I don't want to do that. I want to have somebody do it. And they understand that you could be their expert. I'm their expert for this. They want me to do the service. So I'm downloading the 2 videos, and then I won't begrudge this because you don't have to make it like super awesome and time-wise. But what I do then is you can use a free editor or you can use a paid editor. I actually think all of them are awesome. You can use free editors like CapCut or 123 Edit. I use a tool that I'm going to have to switch to, but I'm going to show it to you now, called Camtasia. It's just a software desktop product. And the reason I use that is because it's actually, for me, a tool that I've used for a long time. It's got powerful editing, powerful captions. I paid like $97 for it, maybe 3 years ago. And even though there's online tools, the files on my desktop are one step faster for me because I can just do this while I'm working. So I do have to do this presentation. So let me stop that one screen. I didn't want to do that, but I'm going to do that. And I'm going to share the screen of Camtasia. And I'm going to just show you literally how I edit this. And you could do this too, even if you're not a video editor. Notice I've kept a project, which is my lazy man's way of doing this, lazy person's way of doing it. This means that the time involved for me to edit this is turned into 3 minutes, but I get 100% guarantee that the copy and the sound and everything else is exactly as I want it to be. Versus if I did it automatically, while it would save me time at first, maybe I would probably lose up on the one time that there's something wrong and I could have fixed it. Okay, John's here. John is on vacation, John, and you texted me like you're ready for our call. And I'm like, your time's off, my man. Because we're in the, hi, John. We're still in the show. Okay, so let's do the present Camtasia again. Somehow it lost it. Okay, and hopefully this is right. It's showing. So here's what I do. I take the timeline, and the timeline is just where you put the videos. I erase it, and then what I do is I'll add the new 2 videos that I just created. This is not designed to be a video editing tutorial, so I'm going to be very brief with this, but I'll show you enough to be dangerous. And when I import the media, I just drop them onto the timeline. So there's a lot of stuff I'm doing here with Windows that you can't see, but I'm just trying to organize my desktop. And the reason I did the 2 voices, for hopefully obvious reasons, is because then I can discern which one is Spence and which one is Fernando, and I'm going to slice and dice them separately. You'll see what I mean in a second. So here's 2 clips. I have track 1 and track 2. I got to listen and hear which one is me, which one's Fernando. And what I do is I'm just going to play this. Hopefully it won't crash out. And by the way, the pause is because my computer memory is just marginal when I'm doing 57 different things. So what I'm trying to do here is just discern which one is my voice, which one is Fernando's voice. That's my voice at the top. So the reason I do that, and I usually put me on track 2 and Fernando on track 1, is because now I just literally stretch out the screen just to fit. And then what I'll do is listen for the pauses, and I will select both tracks and just listen for the changes.
You know what's wild about ML Persona?
So right there is the switch, and I just slice it right at the point where he's about to talk. Then I listen for the next one.
We can make videos like this without actually being on set. Exactly.
Again, I just use the arrow keys to get right to the change, and I slice. I use the S key.
Exactly. It creates the avatar, the idea, the script, and the direction. So your brand can show up more often with it.
And that's right before Fernando speaks, and I've stopped. And the reason I'm doing that is because you're going to see in a second the dynamic captions.
Without you filming all day. That's minimal.
Okay, so I only have 4 parts. Now here's the fun part. I use the dynamic captions, and for that I have to make the screen a little bigger to make the interface show up for some reason. The dynamic captions are something that I built to my preference with my colors. I drag this on top, and that's all there is to it. Watch, I put this to the end, and I'll just slice off the extra. And now here's the fun part. Remember I said I like to validate it. So now I can see the captions, but the captions themselves are a little big, so I just make them fit. Drag the little corners. This is so easy. It's kind of fun once you get good at it. I just drag it to fit, and then I scale it so that it only shows either 2 lines or 1 line. And my mouse battery just died out. I'm having an amazing morning of failures here. Okay, I'm plugging in my USB. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to scale this to, notice how it's just 2 lines, 1 line. There we go. And I put it just above the thirds. And now what I do is I like to do this capitals. So when I click on it, see where it says the words, I get to edit this now, which is really, to me, the 5 seconds of extra time really worthwhile. So you know what's wild. See, wild about ML. This is where I'll do something different. I'll do ML persona question mark, because that way I don't have a hanging word. Then I'll go to the next one and I'll do the same thing. We can make videos like this without actually being on set. Then I'll do the third one. Just no time involved in this at all. And I go, exactly. It creates the avatar. And this works out really well when I'm getting words that are munged up, like MinuteLaunch or something like that. Script and the direction. So your brand can show it more often. And then the last one. And I want to point something out. This could be 100% automatic. The reason I like doing it this way is because of the editorial. Let's do like here, without you filming all day, period. That's, and then here we go again, editorial. That's MinuteLaunch, not 2 words. Worth what is it? 4 minutes extra. Now I watch it once and then I export it.
You know what's wild about ML Persona? We can make.
Notice that ML Persona looked weird. So let's check it. ML Persona. It's a problem probably of it, like a hanging Chad. So this is where I get to go in and I can see, oh, there's the problem. That word is getting cut off by that little doodad at the end. Okay. And the one last thing I do is I say, who started talking first?
You know what's wild about ML Persona?
It's supposed to be me.
We can make video.
And I'm the top one. So what I should be able to do is, and I would have, could have, should have done this beforehand. I just edited like this. I alternating delete. And then I get the outcome. I'm going to have to fix the other ones real quick, but you get the idea.
You know what's wild about ML Persona? We can make videos like this without actually being on set. Exactly. It creates the avatar, the idea, the script, and the direction. So your brand can show up more often without you filming all.
Okay, so I'm just going to correct these two because I should have done that first. Sorry about that, guys. But easy, just to make them caps. We can make videos like this without actually being on set. And then I'll fix this other one. Just because I should have done the edit of the who's talking first. So I got the eraser of the other one. Without you filming all day. Then the new word. That's MinuteLaunch. And then I get rid of the other word. Make sure it's good. And now I export. And I just use here export to local file. And I name it with the name of the day. So it's May 29th. So I do like MinuteLaunch onset 05/29/26. If you're doing this for a customer, you give the customer the work product, and then that gives value added as well, because they kind of see that you've created something from nothing, and that's why they're paying you every month or every week or whatever you're doing. Now I'm going to share the regular screen because I'm going to go back to where we left off before, and I'm going to do today's post. So I'll share the MinuteLaunch Social. And where am I at? I'm on this screen here. We go back to MinuteLaunch Social, and let's do this one for real. So I'm going to do compose. Oh, sorry. Let's do something first. Let's go to Media Library and add that in. So I add the video. You do want to, I think, add the Media Library entry, because if you don't do it that way, then you're never going to keep track of your stuff. See, this way I'm actually keeping for my benefit or the client's benefit, and I can organize it with any of the MinuteLaunch tools. I have the actual thing that I've created as work product in the actual place of the client's files. And now here's where I told you I can drag and drop this. We can make videos like this without actually being on set. Exactly. I find one that looks good. Let's do maybe the end. That's MinuteLaunch. Okay. Snap featured image. Here's the fun part. Remember a second ago, I had used ChatGPT for the social. Let's just use that again, and we'll wrap this up, and you'll see literally end to end. So now I go to MinuteLaunch Social, and I'll make today's post. You'll see it live. I'll put it to all my networks. And because it'll have a video, YouTube will be happy. And so will Instagram, because it's a video. So I go to MinuteLaunch Social. I am going to do a new post. I paste in that thing, and I say optimize and publish. I need to add the media, which is going to be that video, MP4. It's going to give me all of the options for all the networks right here. I'm not even going to read it. I'm going to combine this into one big post. I'm going to publish now. That's it. You're going to see it in a second, and we're going to end at 11:15 on a good note. I want to finish the last two slides, though, to tell you where this is all going. So while this is publishing, you just saw my whole pipeline. Start with the MinuteLaunch Image Editor, real person, build a base, use the open router credits that are included in your $97 a month, iterate until you get something that looks good. Use Higgsfield to validate that this person is going to be legitimately allowed. They're not violating copyrights of William Shatner or something. And in that way, you can have either directly using Higgsfield, you can go through MinuteLaunch using the lab or the coach, or you can do your desktop. Even in some cases, I think you can pull it off the browser to talk to Higgsfield. Either way, use a tool like Higgsfield for production. Even though you could do videos in the site, I think just stick to doing images in the site. Then we use Seedance 2.0, which allows for the creation of actual voice and actual lip sync. Perfect. I mean, oh, Seedance is amazing. There are other comparable tools, but Seedance has been amazing. You get a 9:16 vertical clip, so it's short form for reels and shorts and Instagram posts and so forth. And you can do enough variations with a low cost that you can afford to fit it into your budget for the $497 to at least make the character, but you should definitely charge more if you're doing videos for clients. Bernie, you're going to love it for sure. Make the voice, if it's of a customer, take the customer's voice. Using 11 Labs, make a sampler. Using Higgsfield, you can make it a sampler. You can then take the raw video. If it's two people, you have one as the original person, the second you make and change to the second person. Do the editing like you saw me do live. There wasn't anything complicated. Or you can have it done by AI, truthfully. But again, you don't get the editorial capability there. And use MinuteLaunch Persona. So like as I create this content, I go back into MinuteLaunch Persona. And now let's say go back over to actors. Spence and Fernando or whatever. Okay, if I go into this actor, I can now add new stuff. I can upload more images. I can add to his clips or his sponsorship kit or whatever, so that now I've got all of the things that I need for future stuff. If I want to have Spence and Fernando appear in a new brand ad, he's going to have all his old reels. When I use the old reels, those make it easier for the tool in the future to make new stuff, because once it's seen what it's supposed to look like, the AI knows, I'm just like, I change it from being in the airplane to being on the horse. Okay. And the whole thing lives on WordPress that you own, you control, your client does. So for Bernie, for Julie, for Claude, for John, who else said hi? Who's here? I don't know who else said hi. If I missed somebody, forgive me. The point is, $97 hosted on your own stuff, $197 hosted on my stuff. Your client owns that work product. They own the whole thing, and the tools in MinuteLaunch work together so you can continue to iterate. I can now make blog posts or stories or have the coach understand what was made and create a whole series of new lessons and courses based upon the stuff that I'm creating. And all of this is $97 a month, for God's sake, including $5 of open router credits, which will get you oh so far, as you've seen, because I'm building full applications. I'm not going to go there today because we're not doing that today, but the MinuteLaunch Lab is the full-blown production for creating any kind of plugins and software and custom interfaces. We're using this full-blown. MinuteLaunch Coach is the front-end dude who's managing all of the stuff of running your business from a mobile. So if we go to Coach, he's my man in Damascus who is creating everything and anything, and he has a full-blown canvas, so he can create websites, he can do editorials, he can do contract work. He has access to all my clients and customers, so I can interact with them from my mobile phone or my devices as if I've got my entire universe in my pocket. And he has this ability to use Open Router, so I don't have to pay $25 for every single question I ask. I can put him in free mode or automatic mode or tool mode, and he can use the right tool at the right time. I've even made it now that you can access your normal stuff. So if I want to go here and I want to generate or use the Media Hub to get new icons or new images, just click here as a human being, and you can either search or save your own icons. If I want to look for race cars, okay, and I'm looking for either images or icons, I, the human being, can instantly get that, or Fernando can get that, because the tools in MinuteLaunch allow this to happen. And now I've got these things available to use as the starting point. If I'm looking for icons or, things to use as a design tool, I've got all of this at my disposal now, including the ability to do research. Everything that I have ever seen or saved or shared or looked at is now available to me or Fernando to be used as a reference for making new content, the latest news, the weather, the sports, the things that I've researched for my products. So all of this is to the point of MinuteLaunch's value is crazy town. And if you do refer your customers, it's got the built-in way that I've described to you before, where if you go out of this mode here, and you have a customer sign up with me directly using the platform. Let's go back to the back end. Built in from the free plugin is the automatic upsell. So for example, if you go here to the Get Started guide and you're using the free Fernando to do crazy stuff, by the way, I was working with Ann yesterday, publishing for free, amazing pages or media stuff. The plans and upgrade button has your particular affiliate link in it. So your client can upgrade to just the software only, or the software with the pro capacity of AI, or the fully hosted. And you get $10, $20, $40, or $100 every single month. That's $120, it's $240, $480, or $1,200 a year just for putting a free plugin that does all this crazy shit. And your client says, okay, let's go for it. And if you act as the implementer, you can charge for the work on top of the platform, because now instead of them going to Hootsuite and having to pay, hey, listen, sorry, client, you have to pay $400 a month for this janky old software just to do one of the things that, oh, by the way, I could have done for $97 a month. Well, what if you charge them $400 and used MinuteLaunch Social and you kept the extra $300? I mean, you see what I'm saying? So let's see what my socials have turned out to be. If I go to MinuteLaunch Social, it gives me a report of what it just did. It's going to analyze whatever. I'm going to delete the scheduled post, by the way, so that it doesn't double up. Notice it says Blue Sky Facebook. Now I need to do the email to all of you guys. So I could have done it when I was making it, or I could go here. It's going to automatically give me what I need, and then I'm going to wrap it up because you're going to see all of this stuff. So the AI is optimizing for all the networks. It should be creating all of the buttons. It has created this weird image that I'm going to change to, remember a moment ago, I picked this poster image instead. And in changing it, it's rebuilding it for me. I give it a second instead of the circus performer guy. And I can also choose to customize which buttons I want to use. So I can use all of the buttons or some of the buttons. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just show you live. I'm going to copy the HTML. I'm going to go to my real CRM, which is remote. And I'm going to make a new campaign, campaign new. I'm going to do HTML. I'm going to just do blah, 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 blah to hold this for a second for the title. I don't know why they make me do the title first. I paste it in. I go to preview mode. I'm going to use scale your brand with AI avatars. Okay. I'm going to make that my title. Notice that I'm not a real fan of using the hashtags. So I'm just going to get rid of the hashtags in the title, which I could do this a lot of ways, but I'm just going to do manually because it's easy. You don't have to know HTML to do what I'm doing. You can just search for the words. So for example, you can see here where it says title. Just get rid of those. And I think probably I put it somewhere inside of here. I'll double check. Put it one more place. So scale your brand. And I'll just look for the second place where it's got the hashtags. And the reason I don't put hashtags in is because hashtags don't do any good for me in an email. I could have had the original edited, but it's just as well to do it here. Okay, I got my email, looks good. Watch the full post, why it matters. I then edit the title, which I'm going to make scale your brand with AI avatars. Save. Save. Go to the next screen. Paste again. This is what I do every Friday right before you guys come here. I send it out to my list. I got about 4,100 customers here. And it's on the way. So let's see where it's at, and I'll give you guys one live link, and I'm going to say goodbye. Do you guys have any questions before I go? But I'll show you here, for example, Twitter. Something went wrong. Here's the video. So this is the final link on Twitter. You can go on other networks too. Okay. I hope that today was informative. I hope that you guys see the value. I know it's working because many of you are working with me directly. If you just do this and you go to your local town, the baker, the candlestick maker, the restaurant owner, the lawyer, the doctor, the babysitter, everybody understands social media marketing. Everybody understands that they need and want this stuff that they keep seeing everywhere. You can be the vehicle to give this to them. Now, thank you, Bernie. Let's say you had a business consulting about doing something else. Call those same people up and make some of this stuff for them and show it to them. And they're going to go, holy moly, what does that cost me? And then you can show them, even if you charge them $1,000 a month, that's a profit margin for you of somewhere between, $500 and up for 10 minutes of work, because you're not making the videos necessarily, right? If you made the videos, I have clients who are very happily paying me for more content, but the same process, $5,000 to $10,000 a month for my share of the work, and a budget for doing, by the way, the budget is so that I'm not paying out of my pocket for Higgsfield and the production. Okay. But the takeaway is you only need to be one step ahead. Now, all of this stuff is living and working inside of WordPress, where it's available for all the other tools that are inside of WordPress, including the fact that they all work together, all tie together, all have the same tracking, monetization, Stripe gateway, affiliates, all the other things I've been doing are all a system. So you can have the people sign up for membership. I'm going to show you one treat before we go. And this is because there are so many outcomes that are happening. But this is a new application. This is an example of a final product for a particular vertical that I'm actually working on with John. And the reason this is relevant is this entire thing from start to finish was created with MinuteLaunch only. It was created as a single helper plugin. It has all of the aspects of running a very sophisticated high-end business with lab results and health profiles and daily check-ins and interaction with the client with voice or uploading. It is tracking their profiles. It is doing everything a very expensive 6 or 7 figure solution would do. And it's being done with just MinuteLaunch for real clients who are paying real money, because this really solves the problems that they had in a way that was remarkable. I'm going to show you a second one, which is similar, that is kind of mind-blowing to me, but I have to show it to you from another screen, because it was something that allowed me to, in a conversation, have a client say to me, oh, I've got a guy who's been working on an iOS app for 6 years now, and I wish he could fix it, but he can't, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh. And I talked to Fernando. I was typing to him while the call was going on. I need to get the link to the site here. And the reason that this was really remarkable was that while the call was going on, I had the whole thing built by Fernando, and it's for a physical product. But the point is, it created what was otherwise an iOS application. I have to get the actual link, so my apologies. I'm losing my momentum with you guys. Here it is. I lost the actual link, so I got to go look it up. 1 second. It'll be worth it, I promise. Okay, so here's the actual application link. This I thought was remarkable because while I was in the conversation with the client, I had Fernando build the mobile app. It's the same as the one I just showed you with the portal, but this has functional everything, literally functional, from membership, upsell, to even delivering the product, which is an auditory magnetic product. You don't have to worry about what it does as much as it's functional. It even has the ability to upsell, unlock with membership. And the reason that this was so crazy to me was because we've reached the stage that if you have a business with customers and clients, you are now the most valuable person in the room. I had dinner last night with a friend the same way. I was able to say, hey, what's going on with you in your job? And he works in the financial industry. He's like, I've got companies that do $10 or $100 million investments in my consultancy, but I'm feeling stuck because I need to give them solutions that are more. This is it. This is the dream come true. And you can get into it for $97, or you can do like John and other people have been doing and have a partnership with me where I act as the fractional CTO to deliver the solution that you need for your customers in a way that starts, and again, John will attest to this when we have the success report, 6 figures up of revenue using these very tools. I love all you guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I am going to have an amazing weekend. I'm going to continue using MinuteLaunch Shop to get more of my little sporty coats because I'm enjoying the way it looks on camera, and I hope you feel the same way. I will see you in the movies. Ciao.